goortuu yimaado oo yimaado inuu qaado dadkiisa kuwa quduusan oo nadiifsan oo lagu meeray dhiiggiisa sida xidig bay u nuurayaan waa warkiisa jannada farxad badan buuna siiyey nolol daa'imsa. Hello there and welcome. This message is coming to you from Somali Christian Ministries. And yes, there are Somali Christians. My name is Warfa. I would like to share with you in my second episode part of my testimony. In the first episode, I've spoken about what is Christianity and why we believe in Jesus. And what did Jesus do to take away and solve the biggest mystery that has been hanging on human head since the time of Adam and Eve. I've experienced in my life difficult situations. When I was born, my country was in war, Somalia. And then we have spent the next 30 years in a civil war that didn't make sense. In Somalia, we didn't have government, we didn't have institutions. We had problem. We had a cultural shock that changed everything. The way we see our neighbors, the way we see our people, the way we see ourselves. It was and still is a hopeless case that is a mystery until now. At some point during those lost years, during the 30 years, we started adopting kind of a radical phase of Islam. Is called Wahhabism. Wahhabism originally from Saudi Arabia. It came to us to Somalia through the students and those people who studied from universities and religious schools in Saudi Arabia and in Yemen. This changed the society. Society suddenly became a religious one. Children as young as 2-3 years old or even 5 years old were sent to special schools that were dedicated to teach them the Quran, which is the holy book of the Islam, and then other parts of Islamic teachings. Often those teachings were radical. For example, those teachings were calling for the superiority of Islam over all other religions and races and ethnicities. Islam was the superior. Islam was the one that's supposed to rule the whole world, and others and other faiths have a little option but to submit to the rule of Islam. So under those teachings, it changed perspective. Suddenly we had groups that were fighting for power in the name of Islam and enforcing strict teachings of Islam. Women had to cover, men had to go to mosques and run around in the city teaching people this strict form of Islam. We had groups that were enforcing and teaching people different forms of Islam. Certain groups were calling for violence, and other groups were calling for non-violence, but those with the violence preceded the others, and it became the dominant teaching of Islam in Somalia. During those years, I viewed myself differently. I wanted to get away from all this violence. I wanted to just, to see the other side, what they had to offer. Is it true that others do not match the superiority of Islam? Is it true that others were filthy and others were enemy? I questioned myself all those years that I was studying in special schools that were dedicated in teaching the hardcore reform of Islam. Then I had the chance to travel. When I traveled, I saw the other face, the other faiths. I saw Christianity, I saw Buddhism, I saw other parts of other people worshipping different gods. Then I suddenly saw that Christians were no longer my enemy. They were kind people, they were welcoming. Some of them even offered me to join them in their gatherings, in their worships, in their fellowships. Some of them even invited me to have lunch with them or dinner or have a meal or just a coffee or tea. They were suddenly a kind people. My view changed from that point. I no longer see them as an enemy. I wanted to share and see what they had to offer. And then suddenly I discovered something different. I discovered a God that is a more kinder, that is willing, and that is open to having a relationship with you, and that you can speak to directly. I've come to learn about Jesus. My story from them were kind of a very interesting story for me personally, because it transformed me from who I was, which was a weak human that had so many needs and were depending on others, that saw other people as an enemy, as strange, and I was better than others, and we were, as Muslims, better than others. Then I came to know the other faiths, and I came to know Jesus, who was not discriminating against anyone. Jesus wanted me. Jesus really cared for me, and he wanted to have a special relationship with him. He wanted me to talk to him and tell him about my problems, what's bothering me, what's on my mind, and this really comforted me. I no longer saw God as someone I feared, and I no longer saw God that someone that giving me commands and I have to carry out those commands. I have to pray 5 times a day. I have to give alms. I have to go to pilgrim. I have to follow laws and orders to fulfill God's promise. I have to please God. There was no longer a view of mine. That was no longer something I saw when I met Jesus. Jesus told me that he loves me and he wants to connect with me, and he wants me to be part of his kingdom. And that was something that I really cherished. It changed my view suddenly, and I had that hope that I was lacking, the hope of a fatherless child who didn't have someone who cared for him. Suddenly I was adopted by Jesus, and this was a hopeful moment for me. And then I came to know Matthew 6:33 says, "But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." And then suddenly I knew that by believing in him, by believing in Jesus, and by seeking his righteousness, and by seeking his kingdom, and by seeking him, I will be righteous as well. This really comforted me. So this is the moment I decided to follow Jesus. Jesus was offering a different. Jesus didn't ask me to go and see everyone as an enemy. Jesus said, love everyone. He wants everyone to be part of his kingdom. He wants everyone to believe in him. And that's why I want you to consider your options. I want you to see that Jesus wants you. He doesn't see you as an outsider. He doesn't see you as a sinner. Although you think you are a sinner, but Jesus was sent for a sinner. Definitely we are sinners. We always sin. And that is a problem for us. But Jesus came to take away that sin. And if you believe in him, you will be saved. So my fellow Somalians, I want you to consider the peaceful and the freedom we have in Christ. Just think about it. Pray about it. Ask Lord directly to show you the truth. And I will be praying for you. Thank you for listening to this broadcast. Talk to you soon. God bless.